Well, we spent most part of the show giving some budget analysis after Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana delivered his budget yesterday. And so quite interesting perspective. To continue that budget analysis, we are joined now by David Crosoer, who is the Chief Investment Officer at PPS Investment. David, thank you so much for your time. So it's been very wide-ranging. You get those who say this particular budget was a budget for everyone, and you get those who thought it was quite satisfactory in terms of the impact they wanted it to have. What did you make of the minister's budget yesterday?
No, I think I'd echo those sentiments. It was a well-balanced budget, but it also spoke to there's a lot the minister can't do, a lot that needs to happen outside of the budget. So a lot of the structural reforms that still have got slow progress still need to take place. And we still need to figure out as a country how we're going to develop a social compact for everyone. But on the whole, it was a balanced budget that gave support to many South Africans that really need it, as well as trying to follow up on the President's donor speech with giving some investor confidence into the economy too.
On that note, though, even though we did see, stronger fiscal revenue, which has led to an improvement in public finances, what are the risks for you?
Yeah, so the minister outlined those quite clearly too. The one is that we can't control the public sector wage bill, and we're not able to do the necessary reforms on the SOEs and the structural reforms in the economy. We've had subpar growth for more than a decade now, and the real risk is that we can't get business confidence up and can't get our economy creating jobs. So even though revenues come out significantly higher than expected, our debt to GDP ratio is still climbing upwards, and it's going to peak in 2024, 2025 at 75%, which is a high number. And according to the minister, by 2030, our debt will still be at the level it is today. So the real risk is that we're not able to get our economy on a sustainable growth path and bring down our debt to GDP ratio and create jobs meaningfully. And we still haven't had sufficient action to drive the confidence through.
The one part that I find quite interesting, and I suppose it's a tough balancing act here for Treasury to be able to answer, is that on the one hand, they have resisted pressure for a more comprehensive basic income grant, which would be, quite expensive. But yet, on the other hand, you've got these high income inequality levels, unemployment that has surged to about 34.9% in the third quarter. How do you deal with the social spending aspects, especially when you look at an economy like South Africa?
Yeah, it's a very big challenge. And I think Treasury has done well in giving more support to people that really need it. But ultimately, we have to create an economy that can create jobs. And these aren't necessarily only jobs that require South Africans to get a tertiary education. The budget showed us how expensive it is to fund tertiary education, but also an economy that employs South Africans that don't need to be so highly skilled. And there were some efforts in the budget speech yesterday to target youth unemployment. But ultimately, we've got to create an environment where business feels confident in investing in the economy, and we're able to drive the job creation.
As the Chief Investment Officer at PPS, there's a whole lot of aspects happening in the world as well, the external risks that are taking place this morning following the announcements out of Russia, Ukraine. What are you keeping an eye on, especially when it comes to the global economy, inflation, etc.?
Yeah, the global environment is very uncertain at the moment, as you say, as events this morning indicated, and with global inflation running higher than investors would want, and the recent events likely to cause it to continue to run higher. So in these environments, it's very easy to panic or to react to short-term noise unnecessary. So we try to keep a cool head and not try to react when there's so much uncertainty around. Fortunately, the portfolios we build for our investors are well diversified and are able to prepared to be able to withstand this kind of volatility. But the environment is uncertain, and I suppose the big concern for investors is that it just increases uncertainty, and investors don't like uncertainty.
All right. David, let's leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. That is David Crosoer, who is the Chief Investment Officer at PPS Investment, giving us his perspective when it comes to that particular budget speech. Well,